You know, I spend a lot of time on this channel talking about mostly bourbons and ryes, occasionally a Canadian whiskey, but one thing I don't talk a lot about is Scotch whiskey, which I also enjoy. So today we're going to take a look at my Scotch collection, or some of the bottles that I prefer to drink. It's not really much of a collection yet, but let's roll that intro and we'll dive in. All right, guys, so this is a different part of the speakeasy that we don't really spend a whole lot of time in. I know you guys are used to seeing me film behind the bar. That's my primary set for the channel. But this is the shelf that contains my Scotch whiskeys. There's some Canadians behind me and some Japanese and whatever, but primarily my Scotch, okay? You guys can probably tell right away, I like peated whiskey. I've got the Lagavulin 8. I keep meaning to pick up the Lagavulin 10 travel exclusive whenever I go over to Canada, but I just never seem to grab it. I don't know why. But then I've got the Offerman. That's the charred oak cask, 11-year, and then the rum cask finish from this year. I will likely pick up the 2025 version as well. But I've also got a couple of Lafroig offerings. There's the Lafroig Triple Wood, which have not gotten into yet, but I have heard it is very, very good, and that it was also discontinued a few years ago, which is part of my hesitancy to open it, because I don't know where I'll be able to find another one. And then I do have a Lafroig Cargis from this year. I know it's only 10 years, but every whiskey tuber that I have heard from has said that it's absolutely exquisite and that it needs to be drank. So I'm thinking one really cold night here, I'm going to have to crack into that. Okay, Dalmore's. I know most Scotch drinkers are going to give me heat for this. I like Dalmore's. I like Highland Scotches, but specifically I do like Dalmore. We've got the Portwood, the Sherry Cask 12. There's a regular 12-year behind that. And then there's a Dalmore Valor that's a travel exclusive, came in a 1-liter bottle. It's okay. It's not earth-shattering, but I mean, it's kind of like an allocated Dalmore, and I felt really bougie buying it, so whatever, give me a break. And then the Dalmore Cigar Malt, I was actually able to get on clearance at a duty-free shop. So normally it's like $178, and I think I paid like $75 for it, so it came home with me. Comes in like a much more substantial box, if you guys like haven't seen it. And done a little bit of damage to it, nothing crazy, but it's actually very good. So if you're thinking about spending the money on it, I mean, try and find it on sale, but if you can't, you know, whatever, YOLO. Let's see, moving on. So these are kind of like some of my, like, I don't know, bottles I'm collecting, or I don't really have any intention of opening ever, which I really only do that with Scotch. I have a McLeod's here that is the old label, not really a huge deal. I'm sure most of you are like, yeah, McLeod's, it's like blended whiskey or something, but it is actually a single malt, 43%. It's the Isla version. This is probably the bottle I'm most proud of because I got this for like literally dirt cheap, next to nothing. This is a 1994 Glendeverin 5-year. And even if it's not super old or like super collectible, it's a 1994 Glendeverin. Like, the bottle's 30 years old, and it's still, like you guys can see, the foil's still in place. I think it's just a really cool bottle. I think I got it for like $15 at a estate sale. I grabbed this, the Lombard Collection Golfing Greats. It is a 12-year. I don't know anything about it. I've tried to find some information. Some people have told me that it was a rebottled Macallan product. Some people have told me not, but I know it's old. The bottling is probably from like, I don't know. Can't really tell. I just know it's been hanging out on that shelf for a while, so I brought it with me. A couple of signatory vintages. They're not like anything crazy. There's a Ben Rins 2008, Glen Roth's. There's a Gordon and MacPhail's Highland Park, which is pretty cool. And then this one I just bought because, I don't know, it was an old label Deanston, the Virgin Oak, which is one of my favorite daily sippers. This one's about half gone. These are great. This one's 46.3%, so definitely the right proof. It's a single malt, it's a Highland, and these are like readily available everywhere, so I can go to this repeatedly and not feel bad about it, or worry that I won't be able to find it again. So yeah, if you guys are looking to get into scotches and you're a bourbon drinker, this one's actually not bad. I got some other cool stuff here, some Glen Scotias. If you guys are falling into that trap of like looking for a Springbank, let me highly, highly recommend a Glen Scotia as an alternative. It's the other Campbelltown distillery. Especially like the double casks are really good and they're really cheap and affordable. Now, that being said, like I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because I do have the Kilkerran 12, which I think G Whiskey just named his favorite overall Kilkerran product, and it beat out the Springbank 10, which pretty cool. I have not gotten into my Longrow, the peated Springbank yet, because this one actually says the Springbank Distillery on the glass. I will get around to that. Tobermory. I got some Douglas and Lang stuff. This one in particular is really cool. Let's see if I can get the lid off of this because it's always a pain in the butt. This is a Glen Glassow. This is like the only rare like independent bottling that I have, or it's not really an independent bottling. It's a single barrel, I guess. Like they bought the whole barrel from Glen Glassow. It's an 11-year-old Glen Glassow rare cask release. This is finished in Pedro Jimenez sherry casks. It's very good, and it's 115.8 proof, which fairly certain is just like that's cask strength for Scotch. I don't see bottles like this ever, so when one came available, I made sure I ran out and grabbed it like the day that I saw it. Let's see what else that's really like notable. I got a bunch of Johnny Walker stuff, and I never drink it. I use the red for mixers, and then the rest is like collector's grade Johnny Walker, like limited releases or travel exclusives. Nothing crazy. I do like Ben Romix a fair amount. I've got the organic from like way back. I don't remember exactly what year that's from. I got some old bottlings of the Peat Smoke, and then just like the regular 10-year-old is cool. But I'm not above, like Costco. Got a Kirkland Isla. It's actually really good for a single malt, and it's like $50. Hard to go wrong there. 100 proof too. A lot of times you see it for less than like lower proof than that. This is really like good value for money. Would definitely grab that. Store pick from the Lost Distillery. This one's okay. It's not great. I wish it was higher proof, but it's a Pedro Jimenez finished peated whiskey, so I mean it's fine. Trying to think. Oh, this guy. Yeah. If you're somebody who has no idea what to do with Scotch whiskey or how to get into it, I highly, highly recommend the Naked Malt. It's blended, and it's like $30, but it's extra matured and naked first fill sherry casks, which Scotch is weird because like first fill means it's actually the second fill because the first time around is when they put the sherry in it, but whatever. There is some Highland whiskey in here. I want to say Macallan is a large part of this blend, but I mean, it's $30, guys, and 43%. I know that's not ideal, but it's not terrible. This gives me like crazy, crazy Tootsie Roll vibes, and it actually pairs really, really well with a nice cigar. It doesn't drink too hot, so if you're looking to dip your toe into scotches, the Naked Malt's not a bad one. I know SLB whiskey or SLB drinks. I'm sorry. They talked about this one and how it was one of their favorite budget scotches. Let's see, the Glenlivet 12-year-old. I need to start looking more into Glenlivet because this is the illicit still, and I hope they're still making this because I still find it fairly regularly. I know the legal still is near impossible to find because it was bad and it didn't last very long. They discontinued it. But the illicit still is really, really good. It's supposed to be crafted in kind of that same way that they were making whiskey like 100 some years ago when it was still illegal, or 150 years ago. I don't know exactly. It's probably just a marketing ploy, but it's very good. I find it to be better than the regular Glenlivet 12, which I've only had once, so they need to revisit. I don't know. So you got a Mortlock, a couple Bruichladdich, a Big Pete. That's kind of it. I don't... Oh, here we go. Here's one worth mentioning. This is an Anach 12-year-old. This is another Highland single malt. This is the 12-year. It's about almost halfway gone, but these are really good. Again, 43%, not an ideal bottling proof, but still not terrible. It drinks like a higher proof, so I'm okay with it. I've heard the 18 and the 24 year are something really special, but that's really their only range. It's 12, 18, and 24. They don't have any crazy finishes or anything like that. But the cool thing about scotches and that I really like is the presentation value is almost always a 10 with these. They all come in these great tubes, and the packaging is very classical and fun. So I really enjoy going down the Scotch aisles. The only island whiskey I really have is a Talisker Storm, which is almost gone. I bought that like 3 years ago. It was one of the first like islandy, peaty type scotches that I ever really dipped into. In terms of hidden gems, the only one that I really think is a hidden gem would be, and this is a newer distillery in Scotland, which that's kind of a big statement because most of these distilleries have been around for a really long time. But this is the Ardnamurchan AD. This one is 46.8% non-chill filtered, and it's natural color, so no coloring added, no chill filtration, and it's 46% or higher, so it checks all three of the big boxes for Scotch. It does have a little bit of a lighter straw color, but you can see like the sediment that's kind of floating around in there just a little bit. And it makes for a really, really good drinking experience. I really like these. I hope that they become available in Michigan sometime soon, because I got to hop across the border to grab one of these guys, and that's a little annoying. Not the worst thing in the world, but, you know, what are you going to do? And let's see, if there was a bottle that I would say to avoid, probably this. This is the Benriach Curiositas, which is a peated malt, single malt Scotch whiskey. I don't know if this is a Highland or what it is, but I saw that it was peated and I thought that I would like it. And I'm pretty sure it's a Highland, but as you can see, there's been hardly any taken out of this. It's 46%, non-chill filtered, no color added. So it checks all the boxes. It's just not any good, in my opinion. It's really kind of bad. 10 years old. Okay, so it's a Speyside. It is a peated Speyside. And while that could be cool, I think they missed the mark on this one. And I actually think Benriach has discontinued this since then. But that's kind of it for my Scotch collection. It's not nearly as impressive as the bourbon collection down here, but can't drink bourbon all the time. Sometimes you want a little change of pace, or sometimes you got a Scotch drinker that comes on by the speakeasy. So want to make sure that there's a well-rounded selection, and I kind of like the idea of dipping my toe in other waters. So this is it, guys. Maybe we'll do one on the Irish or the Canadian at some point in the future if this goes well. Obviously, that selection is much smaller, but I appreciate you guys checking out the video. As always, smash that like button, leave me a comment down below, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Cheers.